You ain't gonna call him? When you gonna call him? The weirdest thing is just not knowing when anything is gonna start. My water could just break at any time. The contractions could just start at any time. And I just have to live my normal life. Hey guys, it's Brianna, and I am gonna start off by talking about a little bit of backstory. Usually these videos bring in people that are not my subscribers, so I want to give you guys just some background information. First off, I am 28 years old. Me and my husband got married at the end of 2021 in November, and so we've been married for 4 years. And I am also a labor and delivery nurse. I did deliver this sweet baby September 4th, 2024. I'm finally sitting down to film this video. The newborn trenches are hard, especially during the day for me. Here we are. I'm gonna tell you guys all about my birth. I did plan on vlogging, or at least recording a video for myself for memories, and it just didn't work out that way because of how everything went. You guys will figure that out, but I do have some clips that I will insert along the way. If you guys don't want to see all the preliminary stuff about my birth preferences, why I was going unmedicated, all of that, I'll have like the timeline basically, so you can skip ahead if you would like. First off, this is our first baby, and we did not know the gender of this baby. That was one of the first things we kind of decided whenever we had our first ultrasound, was that we were going to wait till birth to find out the gender. And my preferences and desires as far as labor and delivery went were: number one, no induction unless I am past 41 weeks and 2 days. I was very specific. Once again, I am a labor and delivery nurse, so I kind of know the time frame. I didn't have any complications that would have made me go earlier or maybe be induced. Number two, I didn't want to be augmented at all, so I wanted to be able to come into the hospital, labor on my own, and have my baby on my own with no interventions. And then number three was that I didn't want any pain medication. I wanted to go without the epidural, specifically because I do have scoliosis, which makes it a little bit more difficult to put the epidural in, number one. And then number two, I also just know from my experience watching births is that birth tends to go a lot smoother and a lot safer for both mom and baby when you're able to move around, kind of position yourself in a way that feels good for your body. And nobody knows that unless you're able to feel what feels good for your body. Those are my three things coming into labor that I wanted, that were important to me. But I also have to give you guys a preface that because I am a labor and delivery nurse, and I know that things can happen outside of your plan and that things don't always go to plan, I held very loosely to these things. I was very much open to whatever had to happen to make sure that me and baby were both safe. That's just my disclaimer. If you guys didn't have such a positive experience, know that things happen and that it doesn't define you as a mother. My pain management plan, since I wasn't getting an epidural, was to do all the other things. So basically, freedom of movement. I wanted to have intermittent wireless monitoring, counter pressure, birth ball, standing, walking around the room, heating pad, distraction comb, hydrotherapy, which is like getting into the water, getting into a birth pool, or into the shower. The Christian hypnobirthing, as well as just music to keep me calm, and essential oils to also keep me calm. All of these things is what I planned for, and we'll get into what I actually used later on. And then as far as natural labor preparation, I will say I did Pilates a lot in my second trimester. I went about 2 times a week up until 30 weeks, I would say. So 20 to 30 weeks, I was doing Pilates. I also went to the chiropractor every 1 to 1.5 weeks, starting at about 30 weeks. So starting around my 3rd trimester. Also, towards the end, starting around 36 weeks, I was doing raspberry leaf tea and curb walking. I will say they were all very inconsistent except for going to the chiropractor. And if I had to recommend one to somebody, I would recommend going to the chiropractor. So you need to find a Webster certified chiropractor that specializes in aligning pregnant women, and go see them regularly. Now we're gonna get into the birth story. So my birth story starts Monday, very briefly. Monday, that was my last chiropractor appointment that I went to. It was also Labor Day, so it was Monday, September 2nd. And I went to my chiropractor appointment. It went very well. I wasn't having any change as far as what I had been experiencing. I was having Braxton Hicks, very, very irregular, several times a day, but like nothing. Basically for me, it felt like my breath was being taken away. Like I couldn't breathe for a couple of seconds, and then it would slowly kind of fade out and I would get my breath back. And the only reason I knew that they were contractions was because if I touched my stomach during that period, I could tell that my stomach was firm and hard. And so my stomach was contracting as my breath was being taken away. And I was like, this is so weird. I've never heard anybody describe it like this, but that's just how mine went. Tuesday, same thing. No change really. I went to my 39-week appointment. At my appointment, I was actually 38 and 6. I actually purchased a portable pool, which you had to do for my provider and my hospital to be able to use it during labor and delivery. They wouldn't let you birth in the pool, but they would let you labor in it. I will also say that I saw midwives during my pregnancy, and I really think that this was helpful because they were really open to whatever I wanted to do. They see women deliver naturally all the time, and these women were really great, especially with me being low risk, having an uncomplicated pregnancy. They were totally on board with me laboring naturally. 39-week appointment, nothing has changed. Having Braxton Hicks like I've been having, no bleeding, spotting, leaking of fluid, real contractions, none of that. They encouraged me to keep doing the things that I was doing, the raspberry leaf tea, the curb walking, going to see the chiropractor. I went directly to work after my appointment. I work labor and delivery, and I work night shift. So I went to work I have to be there at 6, and it takes me a while to get there. So, hey guys, so today is September 3rd. That means that we could be having this baby anytime. A little nerve-wracking, but I'm excited. I had my midwife appointment today. She was like, hopefully we see you sometime at the hospital before we see you back in the office. And I said, yes, hopefully so. They measure my belly, listen to baby's heart rate. Everything is looking fine. I think in my last vlog, I told you guys that we were going in for a growth ultrasound just to make sure that baby is measuring okay, because whenever they do the fundal height, the last several weeks, the baby has been measuring 36 weeks. So it's a little bit small, but whenever they did the ultrasound, everything was perfect. Baby is right in the median percentile, 55%. So they're not concerned at all. Today, baby was still measuring about 36, but she said it's probably just the way you're carrying. Everything should be fine. So baby is scrunched up in there or something, but everything looks great. Fluid is great. I've been having some contractions. I actually, like, while she was checking the heart rate, she was like, I feel a mild contraction. Do you feel that? And I was like, yeah, kind of, but not really. I'm hopeful that things will start up and get going this week. We will see when this little baby decides to come. I'm on my way to work, so I will talk to you guys in the morning whenever I get off of work. Hopefully it's a good night. This is my last week working, so I worked 3 nights this week. Tonight is night 1. Next 2 nights I work, and then I am off for a few months after this. And all night at work was completely smooth, completely fine. Didn't feel anything. Around 8:30, I was getting in my car to head home, and I felt the first like strong contraction. This is 8:30 in the morning on September 4th. So I kind of marked it down in my phone. I was like, what was that? Like, it kind of like took me off guard. I was like, that was kind of painful, like a little bit more uncomfortable than what I've been feeling with the Braxton Hicks. Nothing crazy though, wasn't anything regular. I felt a couple of them while I was in the car headed home. I would say they were probably around 10 minutes apart. And so I was like, that's weird. I always thought, man, what if I go into labor while I'm at work? I might have to just stay at my hospital, because I actually delivered at a different hospital than the one that I work at. Got home, did my normal routine, took my shower. My husband was still in the bed, and so I actually woke him up. He was about to be on his way to work. I was like explaining to him what I was starting to feel. He was like, oh, okay. He wasn't getting all excited. He knew that I would tell him whenever things were actually happening. And so I was telling him it was fine, everything was good. I had a few contractions on the way home, but I'm sure that I'm gonna be okay today, so you can go ahead and go to work, and I'll let you know if anything changes, basically. Good morning, y'all. It is now September 4th, 2024, and I guess yesterday was the start of my birth vlog. Well, I'm hoping that yesterday was the start of my birth vlog. I still don't technically know. It is around 10:30 in the morning. For some reason, I had this feeling that I needed to stay and like finish all of my education this morning. So I stayed for a long time to finish my education, because they said that you don't need to go on maternity leave without finishing the education that's due like during maternity leave. Because if you come back and you have education that's past due, then it's a lot more difficult to get your access. Ever since I left work, my contractions have gotten stronger. So I've been having contractions over the night, like at work, but I tell everybody I don't even really notice them, except for the fact that they take my breath away. So, you know, it was... Sorry about that. I was having a contraction, and I'm still trying to time them. So basically, I was saying that before today, my contractions have been on and off. I hardly even notice them because my stomach tightens and I get short of breath, but that's literally it. So that was the extent of my contractions, Braxton Hicks, up until this point. And then somewhere around 7:45, 8 o'clock this morning, when I first got in my car, I had my first contraction where I could feel it coming around my back to my sides to like underneath my belly, like a cramp, like it went all the way around. And then I can also feel it tight in my belly, like the top of my belly too. They feel different than I thought they were gonna feel, honestly. It's more intense than I thought it was gonna feel, but making everything relative, I would put these at like a moderate strength intensity, like a 5 out of 10 right now. So Keon went to work. I was like, go ahead and just go to work. Things will be fine. The whole plan has been to labor at home for a while, so I'm not gonna rush into the hospital. I know that this is just the beginning of things, which is kind of nerve-wracking, because it's like, how is this the beginning and it's this strong already? But as you can see, I do kind of have to like go into myself. Now I know what people say about like having to focus. Good thing is that we already have all of my stuff packed. Keon would just need to come home and get his stuff, and we would need to tell my mom and my dad. My dad would come and get Blue, but I don't think that's gonna be until, if this even continues, it'll be later today, but who knows if it's gonna continue. I tried to lay down and go to sleep. I put my heating pad on my back. I think I rested for a couple of hours. I could still feel them, but I was, you know, pretty comfortable resting. And then I think they've gotten closer and a little bit more intense here recently. Now when I'm timing them, they're anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes apart. The app has already told me to go to the hospital. And they're lasting anywhere, y'all, from like a minute to 2 minutes. So kind of wild, kind of long. So I'm gonna get off here. I'm gonna continue to like just work through these contractions. I'm on the birthing ball, if you can't tell. I'm in my room. It's a rainy day, so we're just basking in the ambiance. Y'all, I did not know what this is gonna look like for me, but I'm freaking doing it, and it might happen today, or it might be tomorrow, or it may stop and it may be a week from now. I don't know, but this is gonna be the beginning because this is when I'm first feeling painful contractions. So I will update you guys whenever I decide to either call the midwife, call Keon. Yeah. So that clip was around 10 a.m. This was around the time when Keon had just left for work, and I was clearly having to breathe through the contractions. They were getting a little bit more intense, but I couldn't sleep through them. They were anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes apart. My plan was to labor as long as I could at home by myself. So I spent the next couple of hours breathing, rolling on the birthing ball, getting through the contractions on my own. And right around 12 o'clock, I was in so much pain that I actually threw up. So that was a cue for me that things were getting more intense, that I probably needed some support. And so I called my midwife first, and she encouraged me to keep laboring at home. I told her that I threw up, and throwing up scared me, number one, because I know from my personal experience as an L&D nurse that when people start throwing up, it's usually transition time. So either you are almost in transition or you're in transition. I needed someone to kind of like talk me off the ledge, and that's basically what she did. She was like, "You're fine. Your voice sounds completely normal. It sounds like you're still able to relax in between the contractions. And even when the contractions come, you're able to kind of keep your cool and stay pretty calm." And so she was like, "You really are doing really good, and just continue to stay at home for as long as you can." So I was like, okay, as long as you're good, you know that I'm laboring, everything's fine. The midwife on call was super great. And I ended up calling Keon, my husband, and he was in the middle of a meeting, but I told him, I was like, I am definitely in labor. I need some support. And I felt bad in the moment calling him because I knew he was in a meeting, and I also had no clue what labor was going to look like. I didn't know if this was going to continue on, but what I did know was that it was so intense that I wasn't going to be able to keep getting through it by myself. I needed somebody to be there with me, calming me down, helping me with the breathing, helping me with counter pressure. And so Keon headed home. This was at 12:15 when I called him. Got home somewhere around 1 o'clock. Whenever he got home, we labored together. I was on the birthing ball with my heating pad, and he was helping me with counter pressure. Can you do it?
Can you do?
Ah!
Here it's coming.
Oh. Oh, my mom was in the car. I think it's done. Thank you.
But you ain't gonna call him? When you gonna call him?
I'm gonna call her.
You gonna call her then?
I'm finna cry is what I'm finna do. It's overwhelming. That's Brianna.
Hey, how's it going, brother?
It's going.
Okay. Starting to get closer together and more intense, or about the same?
Yeah. I think I can tell that some are more intense than others now. Like some are strong and like really strong, and some are like I guess a little bit more moderate. And then they've been like mostly 2 to 3 minutes apart, but sometimes up to 5 minutes. But the average is around 3 minutes for the last little bit, hour and a half or so.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any leaking of fluid, like your water broke or bleeding?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And how do you feel like you're coping? Is it starting to suck yet, or is it still okay?
Yeah. I mean, it sucks, but I think I'm coping pretty.
Okay. Well, we have a couple of options. You can stay at home and just kind of keep doing what you're doing. But if you wanted to come to the office this afternoon for a labor check, I can see what you're dilated to and kind of come up with a game plan for you if you want.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, start heading this way, and then we'll do a cervical check and then just kind of go from there, okay?
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just bring everything home.
Yeah. Ow.
Okay.
I need to call my job.
Your job is Anna.
Hi, my name is Brianna, and I was just calling in. I'm in labor.
Are you calling in sick or personal?
I guess it's personal. I'm in labor. I'm about to have my baby, I think.
Whoa, girl! Alright, we'll take you off the schedule.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye. Oh, gosh. I don't know how I'm going to be able to deal.
Your clothes.
Can you put me a hoodie in there?
A hoodie?
Yeah.
Okay, and baby clothes?
What?
What are baby clothes?
In the bag.
In your bag?
No, the baby's bag.
Oh, okay, I'll grab the baby's bag. Let me find your hoodie.
No.
Bring it to the diffuser.
Oh.
Beans. And you want your heat effect. Talking to me?
No. guess I'm getting checked. I'm not going to the hospital yet.
Right. But you might be. You never know.
Okay, y'all, we're gonna go get checked and I will update y'all. Oh shoot, I'll update y'all later. This was around the time when things started getting super, super intense. The counter pressure helped a ton, I will say. It took the pain from like an 8 to probably like a 4, which was amazing. It cut it in half. And I was able to really calm down, relax my body, breathe through the contractions, which is all very key in going natural. So I was using the birthing ball a lot at this point. I was using the heating pad a lot at this point. We labored at home with him doing counter pressure for probably every contraction up until about 3:30. And we arrived at the hospital around like probably 3:50, 4 o'clock when we got there. Ride to the hospital to get checked, which I actually went to the midwife office to get checked, was very rough. I had several contractions, and not being able to move or do anything through them while you're in the car is very hard. So I 10 out of 10 don't recommend. At this point, they checked my cervix, and getting checked was not that bad for me at all. It was probably the least intense part of labor. Contractions were way worse. And so she told me that I was 5 centimeters dilated, 70% effaced, and -2 stations. So I was very impressed by that. I was like, I've only been laboring for what, 6-7 hours at this point, and I'm already 5 centimeters. That's amazing. So I was very happy with that, but she was like, you can probably go back home. I was like, I'm not going back home, because that would mean a car ride there, laboring at home again, and then also having to ride back to the hospital whenever it is time, and that's just too much. So conveniently, my mom lives 2 minutes from the hospital, so we just went to her house and I walked around. I didn't have a birthing ball at this point, or I didn't have any of my stuff when I was at my mom's house. We just left it all in the car. And I basically just walked around, leaned over whatever I could find, and I sat on the toilet for a long time. If you know, you know. Dilation station, I think it was very helpful. And I just kind of found whatever position was comfortable at the time, because things kind of kept changing. And she encouraged us to stay there for another hour or two, but things were getting very intense and I was almost at my wit's end. And so we only stayed at my mom's house for probably 30 to 45 minutes before heading back to the hospital. When we headed back to the hospital, it was great because they already had a room set up for us. They admitted me straight to L&D. I did go in the triage room just to get my paperwork done. I got my IV. I got some baby monitoring on me, some fetal heart rate monitoring, and they did my vitals and everything in the triage room, which went very fast. And they actually already had the L&D rooms that I was going to go to set up for me. They didn't check me again when I got there. They just admitted me off of the midwife's exam from before. And my water still had not broke up to this point. I also want to mention that I appreciated my midwife kind of sending me back to labor on my own several times and encouraging me to stay at home as long as I could, because she knew my goal was to go unmedicated. She knew I didn't want to have Pitocin or any type of induction or augmentation. I knew she was doing it for my benefit. So there was that. We got into the labor room right around 5:30, and they intermittently monitored my baby's heart rate for the most part. There was a time period where I was laying sideways, like on my left in the bed. It was probably a long period of time. I kind of got stuck laying on my side, and my mom was in front of me. I was holding her hands, and Keon was behind me doing counter pressure. He had been doing counter pressure the whole time. I was laying on my left, so they went ahead and just put the monitors on me because they were able to pick up baby's heart rate at this time. So I laid there for a little while. Keon ran back and forth getting stuff, and eventually I got to the point where I was like, I need something else. I need some more help. And so counter pressure was not working quite as good as it was before. Counter pressure was taking the edge off, but the pain was still 8, 9 out of 10. Somebody either needs to set up this birth pool so that I can get in it, or I need some pain medication. And so the nurse went out and got another nurse to set up the birth pool. But while she was doing that, it took her a while to find somebody that knew how to do it, and for them to actually set up the hose. They were having trouble. And so in the process of that, my mom was like, Brianna, just go ahead and get the pain medicine. It may help you for a little while you're waiting on the birth pool to be set up. And so I just kind of said, yeah, whatever, give me whatever you got. I still to this day don't know what they gave me. I was so out of it and like in labor land, as they say, like focused on breathing through the contractions, focusing on getting through the moment. I still don't know what they gave me. I'm pretty sure it's fentanyl, but they gave me some type of IV pain medication through my IV. And so I kind of hate that I got it because it didn't help at all. I literally had been asking for them to set up the pool since I got there, and it took a really long time for them to set it up. But eventually they did. The pain was still super intense. Like I would say 9 out of 10. And the only reason I say 9 out of 10 because it wasn't as bad as pushing for me. But we'll get to that. My contractions, I didn't say, but when I got to the hospital and they put me on the monitor, my contractions were every 2 minutes. So literally I would have a contraction for a minute, I would rest for a minute, and then I'd have another contraction. And it was like this 2 to 3 minutes the entire time I was in the hospital. And so pain was super intense. I told them, I was like, set up the birth pool right now. And so I think my nurse finally understood how serious I was getting about it. She grabbed a couple people in the hallway. They helped her set it up. But the only thing now was they told me that because I got the pain medication, I had to wait an hour to be able to get into the birth pool. So that was around 6:45 when I got the pain medication, 6:45, 7 o'clock. And so they told me 7:45 was when I could get into the birth pool. I was having such a hard time. I was really, really going through it. But I still didn't even think to like pull out any of my other pain management techniques. I just like pushed through and breathed through. And I just thank God, especially at this point, like this last hour before I got into the birth pool, I'm just really thankful for his strength, because without the willpower that I had in my head to push through and persevere, which I know was only the strength from the Lord, I would not have gotten through. So I'm just super thankful, super blessed that everything went the way that it did. In the meantime, I also wanted to get checked because I was like, at this point, if I'm not pretty close, then blow the whole thing and just give up, right? My wife came in and checked my cervix again, and I was 9 centimeters dilated, and I was so overwhelmed. She said I was 9, I was 100% effaced. I don't remember her saying what station I was at this point. Whatever it was, I was 9 centimeters dilated, and I knew that things were gonna happen pretty quickly from here on out. And so I think that kind of gave me the extra little push too. It was like God giving me reassurance, like, you're doing great, like just keep going. And so I breathed through contractions, counter pressure. My mom, I squeezed her hand for the next little while until I could get into the birth pool at 7:45. 7:45 hit, I basically ran over to the pool and it was amazing. Let me tell you, the first like 5 to 10 minutes in the pool, I don't think I had a contraction. I think my body fully relaxed when I got in there. They were pouring warm water over my back. My husband was holding my hands. And then there's this big windows that were in front of me. And it was just this beautiful sunset. It's like purple and orangey sunset. It was just the most beautiful scene. And I think this was the first time during my labor too that I could really like take everything in and just truly enjoy the moment. I felt so at peace, and I was just thanking God for how everything had went. I was just fully thinking about how I was about to be a mother and how things were going so beautifully with my husband there, my mom there. Like I said, my pain was pretty much completely alleviated. I don't remember feeling much pain at all while I was in the tub. I did start having contractions. They were still about every 2 to 3 minutes. And at this point, a few minutes into me being into the birth pool, I was like, I feel pressure. And she was like, okay. And then whenever I had the next contraction, I was like, I'm pushing. And it was so, I think I had the fetal ejection reflex because it was so involuntary. Like it just happened. Like I was like, I feel pressure. And then it was like, I'm pushing. Like I couldn't do anything about it. Like if she told me to stop, I wouldn't have been able to stop. And so she was like, okay, you know, push. So I pushed a couple of times in the birth pool. And then she was like, if you're feeling that much pressure, we should probably get out and go to the bed before it's too late. I was really sad because like honestly the sunset and the view was just so beautiful, and like being able to feel that pain relief and just see that beautiful picture that the Lord had painted for me on the day that my baby was born. I was really sad to get out, but I had to get out. After that, when I got onto the bed, everything is sort of a blur, but I do know that I pushed in hands and knees. Like my hands are over the back of the bed. I was on my knees and I pushed for somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes.
Yeah. I can see it. Yes. How about this? Surprisingly.
We don't want to bring more water.
No, I want your baby to be born in a sack. This will be my third one. It's called an on-call birth, and it's good luck. There you go.
I'm so tired.
I know.
We're almost
done now.
Almost. I get some rest. I want to take a nap. A nap
You
coming
worked last
soon,
night,
baby.
right?
Yeah.
I'll start all today.
2 hours now. Come on, baby.
Nice and strong, Brown, and nice and strong. You got this. Add to it.
Keep
Nice
going
and
and
strong.
That's it, like that.
Come on, baby.
Okay,
Now you're
water
really
clear.
Oh, that's so good.
Good. That was good. That's it, like that. Look at all that hair.
We're going to listen to baby real quick, okay?
Oh.
You're doing such an amazing job, Brianna. Sounds good.
That's the separation. That's it. You know, just like that. That's how I want you to
Add
put
to
it.
it. Add to it. Don't run away from it.
Yeah, let it happen. That's it. Let it happen.
Come on, baby. Come on. You got it. You got it. Yeah, don't keep pushing, baby. You got it.
When it's all your energy down to the bottom, so you can have this birthday party.
Yes,
Yeah, there's a
ma'am.
head. Every time you push, the head does this. But when you sweat, I see you going up, the head goes back up. Yeah, no need to let it come back up. I know it hurts, but this is it. You about to meet your baby.
Tiana's gonna say the gender, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you for telling me.
So you're gonna put that.
So I won't say anything.
Mama. Little sip.
So you ready, huh?
I'm
Okay,
ready.
I'm just going to show you. Thank you for letting me know.
Oh, baby. You got it.
I know, Mama. I know.
Come on, you got it,
She got
baby.
it.
Come on, you can do it, Bree. Come on, you can do it.
Come on, Bree.
Your baby got a lot of hair.
Put your fingers
Put your fingers inside. You can touch. Put your fingers inside your vagina. Yes,
That's why you gotta push.
yes, so you can feel the head right there.
Come on, you're real close.
That's it. Just like that.
Please stop pushing, stop pushing, stop pushing down there.
That's your baby.
Got a hand. You gotta push. Come on. Come on. Come on. What we got, Daddy? What we got, Daddy? We got a girl.
Baby girl was born at 8:33 p.m. on September 4th, 2024. She weighed 7 pounds, 3 ounces, and she was 19 and a half inches long. I do know that baby girl's hand came out first. That kind of makes it more complicated, but it was very smooth. It was like hand was out 1 second and then the rest of her came out the next push. I was on my hands and knees the entire time I pushed. It felt very natural to me. I got to the point where I was very much not thinking it was going to happen because it was so much pressure, and I was telling them, nope, no, I can't do this. And they were like, yes you can. There were so many people in the room like encouraging me, pushing me to go on. It was amazing. And like I said, baby girl was born at 8:33 p.m. so it was about 12 hours total from the first contraction I had that morning, like when I first got off of work, to delivery, which is pretty fast for a first-time mom. So I was blessed in that sense. I would say active labor probably lasted about 10 hours. I was still kind of out of it, so I don't fully remember the moment, but it's a very sweet moment. And Keon, you can tell, was very happy. My mom was crying. Everybody in the room was like, congratulations, you did it. And this is the first moment where I was like, oh my gosh, like I did it. Like it was just amazing to get to that point. I did end up having a 2nd-degree tear because her hand came out first. I think her hand kind of ended up pushing on my perineum a little bit more than just her head would have, and so that caused a little bit more pain and a little bit more tearing. So I did have to get a repair afterwards. It was no problem though. They just gave me lidocaine and it did hurt, but it wasn't that bad. After that, we breastfed. We had a beautiful night at the hospital, and I'm just once again so thankful the way that everything played out. It was a very smooth, uncomplicated pregnancy and labor and delivery, and I'm just super grateful for that because I know not everyone's story is that way. I'm gonna wrap this up. I really hope that this was helpful in some way. Hopefully you got some tips as far as what to do to prepare, maybe some pain management techniques that you haven't heard of. If you guys have any questions about my labor and delivery, you can leave them down below. And thank you so much for clicking on this video, and to see you guys in the next one.